Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are from current exhibit at the Gilded Pear Gallery. Lauren Tucci, gallery manager, is with us. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Dennis.
And artist Crit Streed, a UNI professor emeritus and artist whose exhibit is called On the Verge. Crit, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Lauren, you're currently running actually two exhibits, and this interview is kind of a pair with one from Kristina Fjellman, whose exhibit is also running concurrently with this one. So I would say at the outset, if you've only seen one part after you listen or watch this, go and find the other one as well on Facebook or YouTube so that you get the full picture before you go and visit these. So Lauren, before we talk specifically about this one, we did not talk about this when we were talking with Kristina, but tell me about doing two exhibits concurrently like this. I mean, you've always had some different things since you opened the upstairs gallery that were, different than what might be going on down in the main gallery, but you have not put two main exhibits up very often, and that has to have its unique joys and challenges.
Yeah, and we're still in this ongoing strange time. The first challenge has been framing. So the one show has some frame pieces in it and the other one does not. So that's kind of alleviated a little bit of extra strain in our frame shop for timing. But as far as the showing at the same time, getting two shows up at once is always just a little bit more work to begin with. But I really think getting these shows to last a little while longer for people to see the artwork in a longer run is going to alleviate some of our project stresses or things that we're doing in the gallery on the day-to-day, but give everybody a little bit more showing time.
Crit, as I said, you are a professor emeritus at UNI, and your work is both drawing and there's also some natural sculpture involved. Gosh, where should we start? Well, let's start. I assume that drawing and your black and white work came first. Yes.
Well, relative to the sculpture pieces that are in the show, which are birch bark, yes, that is true. For a lot of my career, I did kind of a work that was installation work. So I worked with objects in space, often paired with digital or video. So, and then also in my background, I have done oil painting. Drawing has always been a link that I find most immediate. And to reduce down to very simple media of black sumi ink is an incredible way for an artist to focus when they really limit down. So that's what the drawing is at this point.
When did you add the sculpture and particularly the birch bark pieces that you have in this exhibit? What was the genesis of adding that to your repertoire?
Well, when I go up north with Jim to a very tiny little cabin, there's no studio space. And we spend a lot of time out in nature. And because Jim Johnson, who is a poet and a writer, has a Finnish background, he introduced to me very traditional birch bark gathering and weaving. And I just have never stayed very traditional with anything. And so I started responding to this beautiful skin that is sustainably taken off of a birch bark tree so it doesn't harm the tree, and just began working elements of weaving it to enhance really this beautiful surface of this birch bark itself.
Do you have to do anything in particular to preserve the bark?
No, that's the amazing thing. There's nothing done to it. It's not soaked in water to make it more malleable. You work in layers. You have to determine so much. Just harvesting it in a Minnesota woods is a huge challenge because of the insects that you have to fight off. But no, it's simply what it is. So there's nothing that makes it more preserved than its own self.
Crit's exhibit is called On the Verge. Crit, where did the title come from?
Well, it's three very evocative words, I think. And I just often ponder these three words and then follow it with wherever I am at that moment. And it can be very positive. We can be on the verge of so much, and it can be quite horrifying to think about what we might be on the verge of. So I just left it as three words that I think the viewer will find they can answer for themselves. How do you finish off those three words today?
On the verge, I would say on the verge of something great.
I think then you're in a very positive state today. And that's great. And that's how I often think about those three words. They can lead you anywhere. And that's, I think that's quite exhilarating.
I was thinking about that title, and there's a bit of suspense to it, right? Something is on the verge, and I think about that. There's a bit of tension that is alluded there. So anyway, that's what I've been thinking about when installing your show.
Crit, some of the works in this exhibit were created a few years ago, pre-COVID, when you did a residency in Spain. Tell us just a little bit about your artist experience creating abroad.
Well, artist residencies are an incredible opportunity for artists to be generally very often funded to go to a place and be taken care of. So the only thing that they need to do is to concentrate on making work. And I've been so grateful for those opportunities. To go to Cadaques, I went for 6 months. It's a small coastal fishing village, very ancient, north of Barcelona. And it happens to be the place where Salvador Dali has his house. And the majority of the Surrealist artists congregated there. Louis Buñuel made films there. You can walk along the coast and see the actual stones that Dali used in his paintings, like the one with the melting clock. I saw the cafe and went in where Marcel Duchamp played chess. So it's a magical place because of the very strange rock formations. And it is, I would almost say, medieval in the sense that the streets are narrow and lined with these stacked stones that take you wandering through this very extreme hillside town. And as I have noted in my statement, I'm very influenced by what I'm experiencing, what I know, my past, thinking about my future. So all of that feeds into my drawings. That's what's interesting to me anyway. And so some different things happened in these drawings that I worked on for 6 weeks in Cadaques.
When you see the On the Verge exhibit, you can kind of compare and contrast then the work that was done in your studio at home with what you did when you were in Spain, and see for yourself how the location inspired Crit's art, along with the rest of the exhibit. And Lauren, these two exhibits, as we said, are running concurrently, but you're going to have both Crit and Kristina in for an artist's reception coming up the 1st of April.
Yes, that'll be from 5 to 7:30, and April 1st happens to be our anniversary, so it'll be a fun time. The show itself runs from February 20th to May 21st.
So, and it's actually kind of double length for you too. Usually you go about 6 weeks, but this time we have 2 artists and you're going to go for about twice that number,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So that'll be very nice.
Crit Streed's exhibit is called On the Verge, and Kristina Fjellman's show is entitled Fiber Optics, both of them running concurrently at Gilded Pear Gallery. And if you'd like to meet the artist, you can do so at the reception, which is coming up April 1st. Crit, a pleasure to meet you virtually and see a little bit of your art and hear the story. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And Lauren, a pleasure as always. Mention the website of the gallery one more time, because that's where you can go for more information and also see many of the images of Crit's art if you can't make it to the show, or if you just like to get a little advanced look.
Yeah, it's gildedpeargallery.com.
Lauren and Crit, thanks again for being with me today.
Thanks, Dennis.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or watch or listen to the podcast at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.